Shalom Yasharala, this your brother Dawada, coming back at you with this here truth again. First and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shah, Bahashim, Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of the great millstone that taught us this truth for their will. And citation and much love for you, Akim, pushing this truth and sincerity over the four corners of the earth and enduring afflictions to feed and edify the elect. So I want to jump into this here article or a couple articles real quick dealing with this here earthquake situation. All right. The scriptures speak about the Lord visiting, you through the different plagues of, earthquakes, storms, and hail, thundering and lightning and things like that, man. So, these things, what people call so-called natural disasters is nothing more but the Lord actually shaking things up, man. All right, bringing you to his attention, because one thing that's constant amongst, calamities, all right, and plagues and all kind of, just the calamities all the way around is what? It turns people to what? The Lord. All right, in the middle of an earthquake or some shit like that, what do you think people are thinking? Oh God, oh save us, oh pray for us and everything else like that. Like here in America, this is one of the little sentiments. You got the most goddamn demonic place in the whole wide world. All right, but then whenever there's some kind of like a calamity that happens, let's just say a bridge collapse and a bunch of people die or something like that. What do mostly all you Americans out here do? You go to your little social media sites and everything else like that. Pray for the victims of the bridge. Pray for the people in Ukraine. Pray for this. Pray for that. That's they always their so-called go-to thing is to be. All right, but hey, ultimately, when the Lord rocks things up, all right, it goes and it humbles people, man. All right, but hey, you have to understand that as we're getting closer and closer to the day of the Lord is shaking some shit up, trying to get the attention of the people. All right. It says New York State hit by strong earthquake, the strongest earthquake, Salakia, in decades. All right. So it says, and this is up in New York State, but just imagine the devastation that this could have been if this was in New York City. All right. It says Buffalo, the second largest city in the U.S. state of New York, was shaken by a 3.8 magnitude earthquake on Monday. The tremor was most powerful in the area for 4 decades, but did not cause any material damage, local authorities said. All right, it says, according to the USGS, nearly 3,000 local residents felt the quake, which occurred about 6:15 a.m. It struck 1.24 miles northeast of West Seneca, a suburb of Buffalo, with a depth of 1.86 miles. All right, and so like I said, just imagine this happening in New York City. All right, with all the skyscrapers, all the buildings. All right, early in the morning, people are either asleep or 6:15. A lot of people are getting up and starting their little transit, man. All right, you would have had a bunch of people out in the roads and the highways and the byways, man. All right, just nothing but disruption up there, man. That's the real devastation of compacting everybody up on top of each other, in scenarios like that, man. All right, and the scriptures speak about building more than 2 stories. All right, because you got like regular people in regular houses, you live in like the lowlands and everything else like that. There's a house fire or something like that. You only really got to worry about one person getting out. It's not that much of a big traffic jam or nothing like that. All right, but now you got this skyscraper with thousands of residents in this here building. All right, now the building is on fire, but most people ain't gonna really be affected by the so-called fire in the building. Most people are affected by trying to escape the building. The traffic are trying to get out the damn building, man. All right, people getting trampled and everything else like that, man. So yeah, you got to just imagine, an earthquake in a big populated area like that, and which we'll touch on something like that here shortly. But just thinking about this one in New York, all right. And I'm not gonna read this through this whole article. I'm gonna read the majority of it, but not all of it. And I'm gonna jump through the other one as well too. All right. Let me see. It says the Deputy Commissioner of Erie County Department of Homeland Security and Emergency Services, Gregory Butcher, said that the shockwaves were felt as far north as Niagara Falls and Orchard Park to the south. All right. It says Erie County Executive Mark, I can't even pronounce his name, Palonkars, described the earthquake as feeling like a car hit my house in Buffalo, adding that he jumped out of bed. It says, let me jump down. It says, since 1983, seismologists have recorded 24 tremors above magnitude 2.5 in the West Seneca region, with Monday being the most powerful. All right. And so, hey, this is one of the biggest ones. Now, not to mention, we're going to read about this other one here as well. It says on Monday, a 7.8 earthquake or magnitude earthquake wreaked havoc on thousands of kilometers, wreaked havoc thousands of kilometers away as it hit southeast Turkey and northern Syria less than 12 hours later. 7.5 magnitude aftershock struck the same area. All right, so let's touch on that a little bit. So this one here says 4,000 killed in a powerful Syrian earthquake. And please forgive me for trying to pronounce some of these names. Right? It says the death toll from the catastrophic earthquake in southern Turkey and northwestern Syria surpassed 4,000 on Tuesday morning. According to the Turkish authorities, over 3,500 people were killed and over 22,100 were injured. That's a lot of people being injured, man. Just think about that, the logistics of injured people trying to come into the hospital and everything else like that on top of a system that's already being shaken and rocked, man. All right, so these things, a lot of the times people say, now granted there was 4,000 people that died on this, but like when you look at the New York situation, man, nobody died or anything else like that, but hey, you have that devastation that's going around, man. Just like I said, just imagine, you have 1,000 people or 100 people trying to get rushed to the hospital all at one time, and then the services are all down and everything else like that, man. All right, traffic jams and the fire department can't get their gas lines ruptured and all kind of things like that. Again, thinking more or less in these more heavily populated cities and things like that, man. But hey, these are just the beginning of woes, man. All right. So it says the country's disaster management official said that almost 6,000 buildings were destroyed. So going back to what I was saying about imagine that Buffalo earthquake being in the epicenter of New York City. All right. You know what I'm saying? Hey, you could surpass 6,000 buildings within so many square miles, man. All right. It says President Recep Tayyip Erdogan declared a 7-day period of national mourning for the victims of the disaster, which he called the strongest the country has seen since the 1939. Again, I can't really pronounce some of these names coming up. Earthquake. It says a news agency reported on Tuesday that a woman and her 3 children were rescued after spending around 28 hours under rubble. The Turkish defense minister said armed forces established an air corridor to deliver rescue teams and aid to the disaster zone. We have maximized the readiness of our aircraft to provide the necessary transportation services. All right. A 7.7 magnitude quake struck shortly after 4 a.m. local time on Monday, with the epicenter, in this here district. It was followed by 2 earthquakes recorded at 6.4 and 6.5 magnitude, respectively. In neighboring Syria, the health ministry said that more than 800 were killed and roughly 1,500 injured in government-controlled areas. And that's, and even 800 is, being a smaller number than 4,000. But even 800 people dying all at one time is a lot, man. All right, and 1,500 injured, man. Imagine trying to go rush 1,500 people to the hospital. Some hospitals don't even have 1,500 beds up in there, man. All right, and like I said, not to mention, the hospitals also being affected by this as well too if they're in the area. All right, it says massive destruction of hundreds of casualties. Massive destruction and hundreds of casualties were separately reported in Idlib province, which was not controlled by the government. The Syrian health minister had said additional ambulance and mobile clinics have been dispatched to the affected regions. The Syrian government appealed for help from the UN members and international organizations, including the International Committee of the Red Cross. And, a lot of times like this, what happens is they go in and, there's a lot of corruption that goes on with, I ain't going to use these words, but basically just removing the misfortunate people. All right. You know what I'm saying? And then doing what, these elites like to do with these young people. Right. If you follow, look at what happened with Haiti. But it says many countries have offered assistance and sent teams to help with rescue efforts. Russia has sent over hundreds of emergency response specialists who will work around the clock with the affected areas. All right. And so, hey, we'll see how American them stack up to all these different things like this, because they got you thinking about how, Russia being all weakened in war, but they got time and resources to go send, aid over there while fighting the war, while the people they fighting over there need aid them damn selves. But nevertheless, not getting too far into that. I want to just jump into some scriptures here. All right, because ultimately, like I said, these are all signs of. Matter of fact, let me go and grab that first, Luke. These are all signs of. Matter of fact, we can grab it in. We can grab it in Luke. Where's that? 21, 25, I think. This. Matter of fact, I might want to read this in Matthew. Well, let me Let me start here, verse 9. Luke 21:9. It says, "But you shall hear of wars and commotions," all right, in which we have, for a whole year been what listening in and talking about what this here Ukraine and Russian war, right? Speaking about the Taiwan and China war. All right, you got the North and South Korea still boiling over in all these different wars and commotions, right? It says, "Be not terrified, for these things must first come to pass, but the end is not by and by." Then said he unto me, "Nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom." And we also see that as well too. "And great earthquakes shall be in diverse places." And we have these things been going on for quite a while, man. All right, multitudes of earthquakes, landslides, all right, tsunamis, all right, all kind of different what people call what they call them natural disasters and things like that on massive scales and things like that, man. There's a channel that I'll watch on YouTube, which these types of stories don't really make it to your mainstream media news and everything else like that. It's very rare that you really read about earthquakes and things like that. But there's a channel that I'll recommend. All right, if you want to watch, and pretty much what they do is they go by like day by day by day by day, and they'll upload videos of what you would call, again, natural disasters and things like that. So it's like you're watching the news, but it's not really like you have somebody really commentating on what you're watching in the video. So if you do hear any talking, it's just a newscaster in the background describing the story. But it's very minimum talking in the video. It's just pretty much a lot of visuals and things like that. But what they show you in there is nothing more than a bunch of news clips of, again, the so-called natural disasters and things like that going on. So you'll sit there and watch, on January 1st, you had this happen. January 2nd, you had that happen. January 3rd, you had this happen. All right, all when it comes to, weather and, again, quote unquote, natural disasters and things like that. Earthquakes, landslides, tsunamis, and things like that, man. All right, the channel is called, I don't know if I mentioned it or not, but the channel is called Signs of the Times. All right, and it's abbreviated. I think when you look at the little thumbnail picture of the channel, it's SOTT. All right, if you quickly glance at it, you may think it's a Scott, but it's SOTT, Signs of the Times. Right, so you can go and check out their YouTube channel and subscribe to it. It's a great channel to watch. Hey, when you want to watch the judgment of the Lord. All right, because like I said, when right now we're reading about this here earthquake scenario, but these stories really don't get that much coverage and things like that, man. But like I said, man, you want to watch the Lord's judgment go forth day by day by day by day. Go check out their channel, and you'll see, these events that's just happening, and you can go back, from years on in. This channel's been up for quite a while. They just show, basically, you could watch month after month after month, every single day of the month. These different disasters taking place, man. All right. And just be in awe of the power of the Lord, man. All right. It says, "And great earthquakes shall be in diverse places." All right. And again, you have when they was talking about the one in Buffalo, I think they had up to 4 of them, with this recent one being the 5th one. All right, I believe since 1939 or something like that, or I might be confusing that date with the one in Syria and them. But both of them was like, hey, these ain't necessarily something that's just normally popping off like that, man. All right, so hey, the Lord is really stirring some things up. All right, and like I said, just imagine if that Buffalo quake was in actually New York City, all right, Lower Manhattan or something like that, man. All right, where all them skyscrapers, Lower Manhattan, Times Square, or some shit like that. Imagine all them people that's out in the middle of Times Square walking around, taking pictures and everything else like that. Then all of a sudden, major earthquake just happened out there like that, man. All right, all those screens and TVs just start falling on the crowds of the people and everything. The buildings are already swaying the wind. All right, if you ever been out there and been into the buildings or anything else like that, I mean, hell, you can stand at the bottom and look up and look at the building start swaying, or you can go inside the damn buildings and then you'll see them buildings start swaying, man. All right, so just imagine, in an earthquake, man. That's just from the wind. Imagine in an earthquake, man. All right. And I remember, what was it, in Mexico? I mean, again, watching that channel, Signs of the Time, but you can go back, I believe it was last year sometime. You can watch about some of the earthquakes that took place in Mexico, and you had the buildings that's just like swaying in like the most, the most dramatic form. Like you'd look like the building is about to just fall over. Seeing the building sway isn't that much. It doesn't move, that much, but just to see a building move, it's crazy. But, in Mexico, man, these damn buildings is like, I forgot what them things are called. Like, you go out to a business and they advertise and they got the little blow up guy and he's all like leaning back and forth, arms waving back and forth, but it's like leaning very dramatically to one side to the other side, to catch your attention. That's what those buildings was looking like, man. All right. But it says, and great earthquakes shall be in diverse places, and famines, all right, which we speaking about the egg prices, the chicken prices, the food prices here going on in Babylon the Great. All right, and pestilence, the different diseases and illnesses that's going on around here, man. And fearful sights and great signs shall there be from heaven. All right, you just had not too little meteor shower and everything that just recently happened. All right, so hey, all these different things, are starting to take place. As far as signs showing forth that the Lord is. Matter of fact, we can grab that as well too. Uh let me grab this first before I forget about this. Isaiah 29:6. Okay. So it says, Isaiah 29:6, it says, thou shalt be visited. All right. Thou shalt be visited. All right. Going into what the Lord is, people was like, oh, when the Lord speaking, when the Lord doing this, the Lord would tell me, the Lord would show. Most people say, oh, the Lord would tell me. Yeah, I heard somebody say this just last night, and just in passing a conversation, really about nothing. This is a conversation about some, not to say folly, but just some shit that they had nothing to do with nothing spiritual or nothing like that. But they just so happen to say, and I cringed when they said this, and I wanted to, but I didn't want to change the subject. You know how it is when, the men of the Lord be hearing anybody talk about anything, it always revert back to something in the scriptures, right? But they were speaking about something about how somebody that they knew, one of their friends who worked in the medical field, and they was telling them that God put it in their heart to come down to this area and to do some work for their family and everything else like that. But the thing that caught my mind was, God told me to come do this. And it's like, you hear this amongst Jake all the time. Oh, God put it in my heart to come over here and bless you with this here $20. God put it in my heart to go do this and go do that. Now, granted, sometimes, the Lord, and a lot of times the way it worked, what I'm saying, you won't necessarily know exactly why those things happen. You know what I'm saying? Because, and matter of fact, the same day, all right, that I'm, telling you about this story, I had a scenario like that, but it wasn't like I would describe it as like, oh, God said this and God said that. Somebody had asked me, well, what got you in a conversation with this here person about this? I'm like, to be honest with you, I don't know. I guess it just had to be the spirit to have me just come up and just start blurting out certain things to this here person. And then their response was, oh, shit. And this was something that I was just like, spiritually contemplating with the Lord. And they gave me my answer. And they gave me all the shit that I actually needed before I even asked for it. You know what I'm saying? And when you go back and you look at it, like, oh shit, the Lord, I was actually going over there anyway, but the Lord put the spirit on me to just start running my mouth about some shit, and then they happen to be like, oh, I got exactly what you need. You know what I'm saying? I don't even know why I would have had this, but boom, there you go. But on the flip side, I'm like, hey man, people talking about the Lord speaking to them, like, bro, a lot of times the Lord be speaking to people, they have no idea what the Lord is really even saying to them, man. All right, you see all these different signs that's going on, and which we'll grab that next. All these different signs going on, and people sit there and ignore these things. So let me read this again. And there's another precept. I can find that. We'll find that one. Isaiah 29:6, it says, thou shalt be visited of Yahweh of hosts with earthquakes and great noise, and the storm and the tempest and the flame and devouring fire. So again, going into what they call so-called natural disasters and things like that, man. People don't realize that this is the Lord that's speaking to you in these things, man. Let me see if I can find something real quick. Uh, I think there's another one, but that's not what I wanted. Hold on, we might come back to that. 1 second. I mean, that's a decent precept as well, too. There's another one as well, too. This wasn't what I was looking for either, but we'll read both of these because these are both pretty good. It's Sirach chapter 39 and verse 28. There be spirits that be created for vengeance, and their fury they lay on sore strokes, and at the time of their destruction they pour out their force and appease the wrath of him that made them. It says fire and hail, famine and death, all these were created for vengeance. All right. And, you can go, it says the teeth of wild beasts, scorpions, and a sword punishing the wicked for destruction. So whenever we see like massive deaths and people getting shot down, mass shootings and things like that, all right, wild beasts attacking folks, all right, the fire, the hail, all right, going into what you have a lot of natural disasters like, actual hailstorms, man. a hailstorm. I remember watching one, I believe it was last year as well too. Came out of nowhere, man. They were showing people in their cars, and the cars looked like they was all shot up from the roofs being smashed in, windshields, all the windows being blown out from the major hailstorms falling down. But imagine there's people out there in traffic riding on motorcycles, and out of nowhere, boom, start getting hit with hail, and there's nowhere to cover. You ride in the car when them big ass hailstones fly through your windshield or in your house, and you just down and out, man. All right, wildfires and things like that, man. You back a couple years back, you had the Paradise fires where people were getting burnt to death inside the damn cars trying to escape and everything else like that, man. Going into these so-called natural disasters and things. All right. Let's go back over here. Sirach 40:9, it says, death and bloodshed and sword calamities, all right? Famine, tribulation, and scourges. And the scourge, these things were created for the wicked, and for their sake the flood came the flood. And so, hey, again, all these so-called natural disasters and things like that, are created for the wicked, for their judgment, man. All right, judgment is going forth, man. All right, you see a lot of these different things, and I remember it was was it in Israel or something like that? They was out there clubbing or some shit, partying and partying. Had this video of these people partying and stuff inside this building, and all of a sudden a big ass sinkhole just opened up under them, and then the whole floor, everybody just fell down into this damn big ass sinkhole and everything else like that, man. So just think about the wickedness that's going on in there. You think that happened to a room full of righteous people, man? All right, no, man. If anything like that is to happen, a big situation happened to a group of people like that, you know what I'm saying, and they were righteous, it would be that these people would be being delivered up out of the scenario, not being judged into the things, man. So you have to think about these things in these scenarios like that, man. These things are all created for as judgments. Let me try to find a precept that I was actually looking for that goes a little further into it, which those go into it as well, but yeah, this is what we were looking for right here. All right, 2nd Ezra 16:17, it says, woe is me, who will deliver me in those days, the beginning of sorrows and great mourning, the beginning of famine and great death. All right, and again, we're in those times now, the beginning of sorrows, man. All right, and we also read about this in Luke 21. It says, the beginning of wars, and the power shall stand in fear, the beginning of evils, what shall I do when these evils shall come? It says, behold, famine and plague, tribulation and anguish are sent as scourges for an amendment. All right. So, hey, these things are sent for your correction. All right. Or your judgment. Like, let's say, for instance, the situation in Buffalo that didn't kill anybody. Hey, man, that's a sign. Y'all better get right. It could be worse. What happens if that happened in Manhattan, lower Manhattan, downtown? You know what I'm saying? Times Square, some shit like that, man. That would be devastating, right? Get your shit together. That's a warning. Look at what happened over in Turkey or either Syria, man. All right, hey, they might already had their warning. So, hey, now 4,000 people got to die on one side, 800 on another side, massive amounts of injuries or casualties on the other side, man. All right, hey, the Lord ain't playing right about now, man. All right, and the death tolls are just gonna start skyrocketing around this here place, man. All right, the Lord has very creative ways to take people out. They used to have a show, 1,000 Ways to Die. They will go through multiple people dying different types of ways and creative type of ways, man. That's just the Most High showing how creative He is, man. Taking you up out of here. But ultimately, the point I wanted to grab here was these things were sent for your amendments, man, for you to turn from your wicked ways, man. All right, if not, it was sent for your judgment, man. You didn't want to turn from your judgment. Now you got to be judged, man. All right, but ultimately, hey, man, the Lord is putting in that work right about now, man. So, hey, it's a time now to seek the Lord while He may be found, repent, all right, and try to, be worthy to be delivered up out of here, man. All right, there's no time for no lollygagging around out here, man. You see the Lord is out here putting in that work, man. All right. But I'm going to go ahead and close out with that. Lord willing, the elect was edified with this here lesson. Until next time, I say, call halal Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shah, Bahashim, Rakakudash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders, a great millstone that taught us this truth and our will. And salutation and much love for you, Akim, pushing this truth and sincerity over the four corners of the earth and enduring afflictions to feed and edify the elect. Until next time, I say, stay strong. Shalom.